இல்லை இப்போ நீங்கள் வந்து இல்லை இப்போ இதை வந்து இங்கே ஜஸ்ட்டு குறிப்பிட்டிங்கன்னா ரெண்டு வராது ஸ்பீக்கர் ஸ்க்ரீன் சென்டர் நான் இதிலேருந்து பார்க்குறேன் பவர் கிளாரிட்டி ஓகே
They will give a decent clarity.
Okay, very good idea. All right, thank you.
Dear friends, good morning from all. It's my great pleasure to introduce one of our speaker, Dr. Krish Vijay Raghava from Radha. And I should say I should be very thankful to him because he has readily agreed in a very short span, he readily agreed for this presentation today. I am happy to introduce him. He's working at Radha in California, USA. He studied, he's a student of B.Tech Chemical Engineering from IIT Bombay. So, and also his son is a postgraduate in Environmental Engineering in USA. He is an expert in environmental science and specialist in air pollution, especially modeling. He has 20 years of experience and has published about 40 scientific papers. Now I invite Krish to make a presentation. Krish, you please make
All right. Good morning, all, and thank you for attending. And thank you to Dr. Shilkumar for inviting me here. A lot of smart people in this institute. And
so I just want to quickly give a presentation that is about one specific topic, but also I want to talk about some challenges and issues that we face in the US and how some lessons are being learned and how similar things we as people can do in India. So this is a talk about mercury deposition. Deposition simply means to stuff falling from the sky to the earth. Okay? So like Dr. Shilkumar said, I'm with the company Rambo. We're based in California. We also have offices all over India. And if you go to the next slide, this is just an outline of the presentation. Going on to the next slide. And so this is our worldwide practice of Rambo, all the countries we are in. All the colors shown in blue, and go to the next slide. So in India, actually, you may have heard of NLT Rambo. So that's they do more engineering design work. I specialize in environmental science and air pollution. So this is a part of a bigger part of Rambo. So going on to the next slide. So just an overview of a company, just so we can understand where I'm coming from. That we provide consulting for public and private sector. Also, we do a lot of research. We apply a lot of air models. We have a very large air modeling center. And the last bullet you can see out there, we do a lot of applied research and we publish a lot of scientific papers, which is very important to us. So we go to the next slide. So these are all the types of journals. Some of them you might have seen, all the scientific journals that we publish are working. So go to the next slide. So why do we care about mercury? Because it's a toxic pollutant. So it affects both humans and by ecosystem we simply mean wildlife, fish, everything else. So and then if it's very high concentration meaning how much is there in the air, right? It can also have health risk. And if it falls down to the earth, then it enters the water. If any of you eat fish, okay, sometimes mercury fish gets contaminated with mercury coming from the air. So go to the next slide. So deposition means what's falling from the sky to the earth. So there are two types of deposition. Wet deposition means the rain. I say rain and snow. Obviously in Chennai there is no snow. And by the way, I was born here and I grew up here, so it's nice to be here. And then on the dry deposition means the stuff is falling, there's no rainfall. Okay. So going to the next slide. So why mercury? We care about mercury. Mercury can go around the world, right? So that's why I have the arrow up there. Atmospheric lifetime. What that means is how many months or years if you put something in the air, how long it takes before it comes down the air. That's what you mean by lifetime. So mercury can be several months, which means like you think about how long it can keep going around in several months, right? And also mercury, the different forms of mercury can convert to each other. So going to the next slide. So there are many types of sources of mercury. Anthropogenic. Anthropogenic simply means it's just a Sapavata or Bhatavata. It basically means anything that humans make is anthropogenic, right? As opposed to biogenic, which is natural sources. So the first list you see out there, thermal power plants, most common, zinc, copper, cement, etc., waste incineration. The next is wildfire burning, mercury soils, and so on. So we'll go to the next slide. This is a pie chart showing how much mercury is coming in the world. So on the right side, you see the big blue pie chart, big blue color pie. That is East and Southeast Asia, mostly China. China has so many power plants, it's much more than India, like several times India. India is part of South Asia, so it's an orange color, just 8%. Right? And then also there are natural emissions, which is what I have. So you go to the next slide. So this is the main sources of mercury in India. So on the right side, you see the red color. Those are the top 5 or 6 sources. So coal combustion, meaning when you burn coal in the thermal power plant. And then waste losses. And then cement plants are a big source of mercury. We have copper, zinc, iron, steel. So these are the kind of main sources of mercury emission. So this is a map of India showing the spatial distribution of mercury emissions. If you're, I don't know how many of you are from North India, but if you're from the, either from the Jamshedpur side or Singrauli, and is there anyone here from North? Okay, which part of India? Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so like you see, Eastern MP, you have like pretty high. It's basically the industrial belt starts there and all the way east up to West Bengal, right? So it's a strong industrial belt. Also, Ankleshwar, Gujarat out there, and then also Rajasthan. So go to the next slide. So this is the deposition. That is how much mercury is falling to the earth from the sky over India. So you see, the good news is where Chennai is, it's actually very low. So all the red colors and orange colors are very high. The blue and green are very low. So Chennai actually is very low, so that's good news. But the Singrauli area is pretty bad. Excuse me. That is because of a lot of coal mines, coal power plants. Right? So I've given the list there: Eastern MP, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Haryana, Jharkhand, Odisha, even Telangana. And sometimes the mercury is about because you have more rain coming. So that's Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. And the last bullet I have, the last 2 bullets you see there, I say 2 things. One, the Indian government did some very good things recently. So we put new emission standards for coal power plants, which means the amount of pollution coming from the thermal power plants is going to be much lower. So this number will come down quite a bit. So that's a good thing. The last bullet you see out there, just like we export from Tirupur cotton shirts and all that, you also export mercury in the air because it goes up from sources and then it goes outside. Okay, next. This is just showing a comparison with the rest of the world. So India is high, but also China is high, USA is high. Okay. The next slide. So the main points are, and I've given a very short presentation, it's much more, but I didn't want to take up too much time. The main point is that deposition of mercury. The deposition again means simply the mercury that's coming out from the power plant and other sources that are falling in the earth. Sometimes it's very important contributor. So we use advanced air pollution model. And deposition in India, in some cases it's quite high, in some cases it's actually quite good. And the last bullet you have there, new emission standards. Emission standards means they have the criteria, right? How much a thermal power plant should emit. So that will actually, because there are new standards, it will further lower the mercury deposition. So you go to the next slide, and so Dr. Shivkumar wanted me to talk about. It's hard to talk in this application for it as a non-stop word. So Dr. Shivkumar wanted me to talk about what are the challenges we face in the US, what lessons we learn. And as the Honorable Chief Guest was talking about Korea, USA is going through some tough times now. So there are some challenges, but also some lessons to be learned. Like you mentioned, one of the big problems is carbon emissions. So carbon, everybody's talking about climate change. What is all this? I wonder why is it such a big deal? So climate change simply means like the carbon, anything that has carbon, when it comes from a car, factory, from anywhere, when it goes up in the air, the sunlight that's coming from the sun up to the Earth's surface, when it goes back, the carbon is like rocking, it's like this. So the sunlight cannot go anywhere. So what is going to happen? All the light, the heat is going to be near the Earth's surface, which is why it's getting warmer and warmer. So that's what they mean by global warming. So who is, and then he mentioned the glacier that has become a lake, chief guest about Korea. The reason for that is when you have so much warming, glacier tends to melt. The problem with that is that even faraway places get affected, like Maldives, the countries which are by the sea. There will be more flooding from the coast. So, but the good news is that the people in the US are very active. Despite the president saying, the US saying they're not going to take part in the Paris Treaty, but the common people, the NGOs are very active, people are very active. So there are many things which they are doing there, you can also do here, to take some active steps. One is recycling is very important. When I was, it is something, after a while, like basically the next generation of children should always think about recycling. It is our responsibility to tell them. So for example, in our house in California, there is one garbage bin for the regular garbage, and then for recycling, just paper, plastic, and then one for compost, smaller. You cut the plant and throw it, they don't want to put that in the landfill. You can't recycle it, so what do you do? So that is a separate garbage bin. So that may not be there, but still, for example, I'm hoping that all the plastic water bottles are only recycled instead of putting it in the landfill, all the plastic water bottles still. So it's very important. There are some simple steps we can take, and if you wonder what those steps are, please go back to how India was 100, 200 years back. Go back to our roots, go back to Mother Nature. How you probably remember a long time back, your father or grandfather, you get the little packet, they cut it, but they won't just throw it off, and they'll reuse it for something else, or they recycle. That guy will come, you give your old stuff to him, and then you get something new. So India has fundamentally very good habits. We just have to be careful not to get too westernized. We need to take all the good habits from the rest of the countries, like punctuality, like Korea is talking about hard work. Those are the things we need to take. But you can't take the throwing trash, and you just have to be more aware of what you do daily. That's it. You can wonder, the whole world is warming, what can I do? Okay, I'll do what I want. One thing in the US, they say walk more and drive. Here it's not practical, so I'm not even going to give advice. If somebody has a car, they will go in the car. You have to go to uniforms. They're not going to walk in the sleep. But there are some other basic things you can do, like recycling, planting trees. Okay. This is a saying, but I'm sure it's scientifically true too. If you plant a tree, you get so much punya because you're helping generations behind you. There's also a practical reason because plants absorb the carbon, so they help with climate change. Right? So we cannot keep waiting for the government to say the government should do this, the government should do that. That is separate. Let them do what they're going to do. Even in the US, people court cases there, court cases here also. People file court cases too. The government is not doing something. I'm not asking people to file court cases. I'm saying you can always point the finger at everybody will take care of their own house and keep it very clean. And then as soon as you go up, you start not caring, right? There's no reason to do that. And it's not that hard actually once you get into the habit. Because I know this because I'm just like you. I was born here, raised here, hardcore. I mean, I'm so happy. Even the heat I don't mind because I live in Srinagar, born and brought up in Srinagar, used to play cricket every day in 2 p.m. I know, so I know exactly what you're going through. But what I'm saying is if you all take small steps, you can help with pollution, and let's not wait for the government to take action. We can take action. NGOs are also doing things, but let's all individually. If you just do one thing and you tell one person to do one thing, then you can carry out your job. That's all I'm saying, and we don't start talking about it.
Thank you. The message is going to be clear, I think, as a individual, since not scientist economist, but as a individual, the way we live, the way our lifestyle, we are able to contribute towards sustaining the environment. Thanks, Krish, for sending this message. I think yes, the nation has to take a lot of road. We have to think about sustainable development, and the ability about waste reduction and also recycling. And as we pointed out, our ancestors, it's a unique culture of our peoples. We use the maximum recycling and also spoken about why importing Western technologies have to be very cautious, just like the climate change and most of the consequences of technology. So that's the issue. Now next I invite Jeremy. So I invite our next speaker, Mr. Jeremy. I think he's our newly product. He's one of the quality assistant working in Navy, but now presently is working in Ramachandra Navy College. And it is good that there is one speaker from health assessment because we know more about the pollutants monitoring, but finally everything has to deal with the health assessment. That is why it has a meaning. We should know what is the effect of these pollutants on the health. So we have one speaker, especially is also in Ramachandra Medical College, so we can able to tell more about how exactly they are doing this health assessment. Just for the sake of audience, I am introducing him. Jeremy Chidambarai is an environmental engineer, completed his MTech from Anna University. I think Jeremy, which college? Basically from Anna University, the Hindi campus. Currently is working on climate change and occupational heat stress and the industrial IT. He is also certified person from industrial IT and from British Council, as well as there are more than 100 industrial lab in more than 100 industrial projects. Currently he is working as a lecturer in Sri Ramachandra University. With this, I just welcome Jeremiah to give a talk.
Good morning to all. Thank you to Dr. Shivakumar for inviting me for this session. So, I am Jeremiah. I am working as a lecturer in Sri Ramachandra University, Department of Environmental Engineering. So, I am an industry scientist basically. So, you might have seen such news recently. So, more than 200 people were dead due to heat wave in Telangana in 2017, and death toll rises more than 4,200. And 3 sunstroke deaths in Maharashtra are the first heat casualties of 2017. In this session, what is the root cause of such fatalities? It's basically occupational or environmental heat stress. So in this session we will discuss about how to assess heat stress and how to do health risk assessment and how to prevent it. So what is heat wave? As per our Indian Meteorological Department, they have given 3 criteria. Criteria number 1 is if the temperature exceeds more than 5 degrees Celsius comparing to your maximum ambient temperature, means it should be declared as heat wave. Second criteria is if in excess of 4 degrees Celsius over a normal historical maximum temperature of more than 40 degrees Celsius, means that also needs to be declared as heat wave. And the third criteria is if the maximum temperature was greater than 45 degrees Celsius, irrespective of the historical data, it should be declared as heat wave. These are the 3 criteria they are given for heat wave. Okay, I analyzed heat wave situations in 3 major cities of Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Trichy, 3 major cities in India, where we did some heat stress exposure assessments, and we found that during the month of May, Chennai was 26 days in 2012 was recorded as heat wave, and in 2013, 16 days needs to be declared as heat wave days. So for such days, it should be noted that people should not be exposed to high heat stress. But we don't have fatality data or casualty data for such days. So you might have aware of consequences of climate change. It might be sea level rise. It might affect food production, storms, ozone layer depletion. This session is more specific to local climate change and its heat exposure and its health effects and occupational health. So heat stress is one of the component of climate change. So how our body responds to heat stress? What is our body's natural cooling mechanism? Is sweating. So other than that, what our body will do? It tends to push the blood to the surface of the skin to minimize the heat. Increasing blood flow to skin surface and sweat is the 2 major mechanisms of reducing body's core temperature. What is our body's core temperature? It's about 37 plus or minus 1 degree Celsius. So, what is the effects of such responses? So, because our body is pushing blood to skin surface, there will be reduced blood flow to the brain. So, reduced mental awareness and comprehension, and reduced blood flow to muscle activities, which may lead to muscle cramps, and then increased sweating, which may lead to dehydration, and potential result is higher rate of mistakes, injuries, and too much heat. So, what are the major health effects of heat stress? You might have that heat stroke and heat exhaustion. When heat stroke happens, what is our core body temperature? It's 37 degrees Celsius. If it exceeds more than 39.5 degrees Celsius, it causes heat stroke. During heat stroke, sweating stops and skin becomes hot, red and red. If untreated, the person will become unconscious and it may lead to death as well. Heat exhaustion leads to too much loss of water and body salts. So this is our human thermal balance. So the parameters which influences the human thermal balances are sweating mechanism, ER is heat loss by evaporation, and M is metabolic heat production, the food what we are taking, and then heat gain by radiation. What is the natural radiation source? Sunlight. In occupations it may be furnace or some other things, and heat gain or loss by convection. These are all the four major parameters which influences heat system thermal balance of humans. So, how can we measure heat stress? So, simply can we measure environmental temperature, and we can conclude the person is vulnerable to heat stress. So, what are the parameters we need to assess? So, in environmental alone, we need to assess air temperature, radiant heat, and humidity. So, heat stress index is a single number that integrates the effects of all the environmental parameters. So there are lot of empirical indexes like effective temperature, corrected effective temperature, midbird flow temperature are available right now, and rational indexes are heat stress index, required spread rate, predicted heat strain, and thermal opacity. Among these, midbird flow temperature is internationally accepted index. Even for Indian criteria, it is recommended to do heat stress assessment using midbird flow temperature. So these are the formulas. So what is the risk assessment framework to assess occupational heat stress? So short-term area heat stress assessments needs to be done according to ISO method 7243. Long-term area heat stress assessment according to Broom-Lemke method. Metabolic rate, that is can be measured by measuring heart rate according to ISO 8996, and continuous core body measurements can be done by using air canal temperature, urine specific gravity, sweat rate, and even you can use questionnaires to assess the environmental heat stress and heat strain of the worker. So these are the instruments available to assess heat stress: WBG meter, framework meter, core body temperature measuring meter, and heart rate monitors, and urinometers. So apart from environmental parameters, other two parameters need to be assessed by doing heat stress exposure assessments. They are the clothing, the worker what he is wearing, and then the type of work he is doing, might be light, moderate, and very heavy work. So basically, to assess heat stress, environmental parameters, clothing, and work categories needs to be assessed. So these are the clothing types given by ACGIH. So in India, we don't have a typical clothing factors for India. These are the values published by Dr. Khalid and Karen Lundgren. So they have did a study for construction workers. The maximum clothing factor was measured 0.23. So these are the categories to assess work intensity or the type of work he is doing. So basically light, moderate, heavy, and very heavy categories. So it can be assessed by measuring heart rate as well. So this is the interpretation, how to interpret the parameters what we measured. So if the worker is exposed to 6 to 8 hours in the workplace and he is exposed to moderate work category, the standard was 28 degrees Celsius of WBG. So how to prevent occupational heat stress? So there are 4 ways we can prevent it by doing engineering controls, work hygiene and administration controls, body cooling garments, and heat alert programs. So engineering controls. So how to prevent convective heat control? What is our screen temperature? Around 35 plus or minus 1 degree Celsius. So what will be the outside ambient temperature right now currently? It will be about 40 degrees Celsius, back in 40 degrees Celsius. So you are working in an ambient environment and you are using a fan to prevent heat from your prevent heat stress. So it will lead to transfer of ambient heat to body due to temperature gradients. So it is always recommended to use convective heat control systems when the ambient temperature was less than 90 degrees Celsius. So on radiation heat control, so it is recommended to use reflective shields can reduce up to 85% of heat load. This is the heat stress measurement which was done in steel plant, and the results show that maximum radiation temperature measured was 81.2 degrees Celsius. For your reference, currently the ambient temperature will be about some 42 degrees Celsius. That's it. But the people are vulnerable to high occupational heat stress. And we measured core body temperatures as well. So the maximum core body temperature of 42.8 degrees Celsius was measured, but the normal range was 37 plus or minus 1 degree Celsius. So because of they are wearing all the aluminum coveralls and face suits, everything, and the results show that 50% of the workers were performing moderate work and 21% were engaged in heavy work. And maximum radiation temperature recorded was 81.2 degrees Celsius in daytime and 74 degrees Celsius in night time. So the maximum WBGD of 57.7 degree was recorded, but the normal range was 28 degrees Celsius. So evaporative heat control. So it is recommended to use the convective heat sources. It should be less than 2.5 meters per second, which is considered as effective way of controlling evaporative heat. Further, you can use air conditioning and spot cooling systems. So work hygiene and administration controls. So basically, administration control is nothing but limiting the workers' exposure and reducing metabolic load, acclimatization, and train the workers. So some examples are scheduling hot jobs during the cooler part of the day and providing cool areas for rest and recovery and increased water intake. And reducing metabolic loads. Examples are mechanization, following proper work rest regimens, and providing extra personnel to reduce exposure time. So here, this is the bricklaying. So they have start here in this picture. Here they have started their work during 4 o'clock in the morning to reduce heat stress. Here in the second picture, they start their work at 10 o'clock in the morning and they are vulnerable to high occupational heat stress. This is a typical example of how people try to acclimatize themselves for preventing themselves to heat stress. And following proper work rest regimen, Miller and Gates study did a survey about occupational heat stress in United Arab Emirates. They measured heart rates and ear canal temperatures for about 150 employees in different work sites, and they found that even the people are vulnerable to heat stress, their ear canal temperature did not exceed to the standards. The reason behind was that they are following proper work rest regimens. So acclimatization. So before exposing a worker into hot working areas, you can acclimatize a person by following these methods. So if the person who is not exposed to heat stress means first day he can be exposed 20% of the work day, and following day it can be increased by 20%. So Windham et al. Studied acclimatization status of mine workers in South Africa, and he found that significant reduction over a period of a month as per the acclimatization method he followed. So public health systems, what WHO says about public health systems. So agreement on a lead body. So say for example, need is a English center. So likewise, for public health systems, it is recommended to agreement on a lead body to coordinate on multi-purpose collaborative mechanism between bodies, institutions, and the public. And accurate and timely alert systems are recommended, and there should be heat-related health information plans which needs to be communicated to the people, and reduction of indoor heat exposure, and preparedness of the health and social care systems. So healthcare staff should be aware of the issues, and long-term urban planning like green buildings and energy and transport policies. These are my references. Some states we are being in industries, so that they are providing spot clean systems. So say for example, in the gas industry in Singapore, the worker needs to be exposed about 2 hours near the furnace. So for that person, they are providing spot clean systems so that
something you can also find about the data system, the spiral artist, because the data system has an environment is totally new to us. In the sense, we need a longer system, we are not having people. So that is what one of the people what I can say one of the PhD is we are unable to perform our work. We are not able to perform our perfection. So that's why we are making studies on the especially spiral. And the blood sample is also correct. Especially from industry exposure point of view, or gaseous social farming. And also logistics we are also doing. Correct? We are also doing. So,
you can always fields to one side. So we can become hands on the
okay, fine. So it's the what is spiral
It's all about actually farming sizes of any classifying based on its size fractions. So less than 10 microns was respirable. So greater than 100, less than 100 microns was total dust. Less than 15 microns is cross phase fractions. So spirometer is basically it's used to measure how much fractions, dust fraction indicate because of chronic or short-term exposures. For regular exposure assessments, those who are doing sorting and other kind of activities. So it's basically biological modeling. So you are aware of exposure side, but it is important to assess the health as well as. So here we did some exposure assessment in lead manufacturing in Chennai, and we did environmental sampling of we collected air sampling of lead, and we did some we collected lead from different categories of workers, and we found that those who are working near the process area was least exposed, whereas the people, those who are sweeping, were exposed to more lead dust. So before implementing engineering controls and other control methodologies, it it is important to measure health aspects as well. So as sir told, blood levels is an important tool to assess health pattern of growth. We are being nice to